So, time to go back up the hill again. I bought some eggs and I put them in my cool container, but I forgot to cut a piece of cloth to make it so they're not noisy. Oh well, it's hard to remember everything. But what else I got on my list here? I got a big long list of videos to make. Oh yeah, let's talk about two really important questions. People are currently freaking out about people reproducing less. I am not freaking out about that, even though it's going to cause a whole bunch of peripheral problems. It already is in places like Italy and Japan, where people are deciding not to have children as much. And that's partly due to economics, where they're making an economic decision that it's not worth it to have more children. And a lot of people, there's like a loneliness epidemic. People have less reason to couple up. Family structure is really getting totally destroyed. And I have solutions for that as well, to replace the extended family. Fuck. It's the wrong time of day to be walking around. It's like, this is the hottest time of the day. But, oh well. I have to walk for exercise anyway. And so, oh well. The two questions are then, what will be the peak population of the Earth, the human population of the Earth? Because it appears it's going to go down. And I think it's going to go precipitously down. I saw a video by some academic guy in a suit, and he was talking about what a huge crisis this is. I actually see it as a massive solution, despite the problems we will face with, like old people in Japan preferring to just go to jail because they can get some food there, And so we're going to have a serious problem socially with changing from a society which is always growing and expanding and destroying more of the planet to one where the population is actually decreasing. We have not yet hit peak population, but I bet you could predict that. You could predict what will be the highest number of people ever lived. And then we also have to wonder who the last person on Earth will be. Because, there was other humanoid hominids, homos, whatever, that existed. There was a bunch of other kinds we found. Neanderthals were one you've heard of. There's Homo florensis. We're Homo sapiens. We named ourselves that because we think we're really smart, even though we're killing the whole planet around us. So the plan is to try and figure that out and have a slow collapse, a slow descent, as opposed to a precipitous one, which would be really inconvenient, and billions would die very quickly. Now, my actual goal is to get the human population down to around 2 billion people. That's my estimate of how many people the Earth could support reasonably. And at that number, we could be restoring the oceans, which we've largely fished our hole out, but the oceans would come back real quick. We are poisoning everything, which is a bigger problem. I saw an article about even like if you're developed from sperm that had low mobility, then you're going to live about an average of 2 or 3 years less years of life. And we got all this plastic in us now. We've got Teflon stuff in us, these forever chemicals. Sperm counts are going down, testosterone counts are going down. We are seriously screwing ourselves over, but that may be the only salvation for the planet. So it's a good thing. But in this interim period, we can be really smart and design a culture that could actually level off and be stable, one in which we didn't fight wars with each other all the time. We could figure that out. We can make rules among ourselves and our neighbors and figure out how can we not always be stealing from the neighbors, and how can we prepare for difficult times, droughts and extreme cold, and extreme heat. And we can plan for that now, design the societies now that can survive that, and then maybe some of us will actually survive. Does that matter? I always come to that same thing. I wonder, does it really matter if we all die out or not? Well, on a universal scale, no, it sure doesn't. Not at all. We just don't want to. And that's, a survival instinct thing. We just want to try not to die. And I think we're just afraid of death, which is reasonable. We're evolved to be the way we are. We're evolved to use up as much resources as we can to maximize our reproduction. That is genetically how we're designed. And we're also genetically designed to cooperate within our own group and then attack other ones. I was just reading about the differences between like chimpanzees and bonobos, and that was really interesting stuff. Also bonobos, because scientists lie accidentally, but bonobos actually do violent shit too. They just don't do it quite the same way, and we would probably prefer to live in a more bonobo-like culture than a chimpanzee one, where there's whole wars among chimpanzees where they go in and they just murder all of another group of them. And we probably did that with humans as well. I don't know what the right word for that. Hominoids? I mean, I guess they're all humans, right? Were Neanderthals humans? I guess they were. And we intermarried with them. We have their DNA in us. We probably have the DNA of Homo florensis in us, the Hobbit one. And I forgot the other names. There's like 5 of them now. And they all died out. And we probably killed them. I'm certain we killed each other. We killed off all the megafauna. That sucks. The really big animals. That happened about the same time humans started flourishing. And there's lots of things that went extinct because we didn't treat the earth right. So we have this window of opportunity. And I did think of, because it's fun to think up cool names for stuff. I thought about making like a Messiah Club. Because I was thinking about who I want to invite to my place and how I want it to function. And it would be interesting to gather a bunch of people who kind of had a Messiah complex, where they believe they are responsible for creating this new culture. That'd be really amazing. And they could be people with different specialties, because like another thing I was reading was about all the technology. We're going to lose how to do it if we collapse the wrong way. We're going to forget how to make metals and how to do all this really cool shit we figured out. And so scientifically, we want to store as much of that knowledge as possible. Now, it's funny, as the book I was reading it on was on my computer. And my computer's not going to work later. So we need things like the Great Library. We need to have climate-protected underground storage, protected against all kinds of disasters and humidity and stuff, printed materials of everything we need to survive and recreate society. Not the way we have before. And a lot of the things we have figured out we can do, we simply won't do anymore. But some we could retain that knowledge. We could retain knowledge of how to build boats that use sails. That's how we used to use boats, right? And we're still going to have a desire to have big boats that can cross the ocean, but we're not going to have any gas to do it with or engines. So there's a huge list. There's thousands, tens of thousands of things on the list. And I don't even know how to, my friend's grandfather, his grandfather used to make wheels for carts. And I don't know if they made them all out of wood, if they had nails, if they had a forge. We need to have forges. I save all my glass and all my metal. We have this short window of opportunity to prepare for collapse. And we can do it, but we don't seem very motivated. So I like this idea of this kind of Messiah Club. Also, it would be a bunch of experts, and they'd be chosen to be really cool people on camera in most cases. and encouraging others around the world to do the same thing, where they build towns totally different than they're built now, where we re-tribalize, but not as violent tribes. That's another thing, is that anthropologists have picked different cultures around the world and said, oh, this is a really peaceful culture. And then they find out later, oh, it's not a peaceful culture. They killed each other a lot. Like one of them had like 15% of the people that would die of murder. And so we have to have justice systems. We have to have shared ethical systems about how we use resources and what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. How we trade people, so we're not all inbred. We trade people within groups, where maybe the guy goes to the other group, maybe the woman goes to the other group, and we mix it up genetically. Luckily, we're already pretty mixed up genetically, which is great. Like, I'm actually in favor of interracial marriage. Not that race is the only definition at all of genetic diversity. People can look the same but be different genetically. But we've already done a really good job of mixing up the human genome quite a bit. And that's overall a very good thing, because it can make us more resistant to diseases. And so even if something kills a bunch of us, it won't kill all of us. Because apparently I think I read that the human population at one point got down to under 2,000 individuals due to some event that we don't know about. But geneticists can kind of reverse engineer the genome and figure out how many ancestors there were. Like, especially with mitochondria, I guess. What is it? There's DNA. But like, there's something you only get from your mother. And so that allows them to track a bunch of stuff genetically. Sorry, I'm not an actual scientist here, but I can read enough to connect the dots. And this is why I say, ridiculous things like that I can predict the future. Because I can predict the future. If you understand the patterns of what has happened in society before, and you understand the state of things as they are now, then you can really well guess what's going to happen. And it's hard to do that with any massive level of certainty. Like everybody likes to make fun of Malthus because his timing was off. Malthus was just late. No, he was early. His predictions were like, he didn't take certain things into account, like innovation and the use of cheap energy. The reason I picked 2 billion, by the way, as the population is because that's what it was around 1800. And if we had the same population as we had in 1800 or 1850 or whatever, because our population has just skyrocketed, it's gone nuts, and we retained all of our scientific knowledge, moved all the cool plants all around the world, then we could have a really good life. We could stabilize, and that's the most utopian I can get. Messiah Club. Wow, that'd be so cool. Have like 50 to 100 people, all of whom know a bunch of stuff, and a bunch of whom can actually do stuff. Because I can't do almost anything. I'm good at talking and thinking, but I'm pretty useless. I understand electricity, solar power. Messiah Club. I love it. It sounds ridiculously ambitious, arrogant even. But since I'm looking at the collapse of civilization, it's not really that arrogant to think, well, maybe we don't have to completely go extinct. That'd be great.